Nicole Schubert, a student who began her studies this year in our Graduate School of Education and Counseling, first came to Lewis and Clark in 2006 as Assistant Director of Catering for Bon Appetit, the company that provides food on campus for our students and others. At that time, Nicole supervised 20 of our students who worked with her on an on-call basis. But Nicole quickly became more than a boss to several of these students. She became a mentor. At downtimes in the catering events, the group would huddle and they'd ask Nicole for advice about life. I was just 4 or 6 years older than most of them, Nicole remembers, and they came to me with questions about being an adult. Although Nicole had already graduated from a university in Washington State and had earned an MBA online, she came to feel she wanted more. She wanted to make her skills and take them in a different direction and to a different level. So she applied to and was accepted by our graduate school. When assigned to a 6th grade class this year for her practicum, Nicole knew what she needed to accomplish. As she puts it, I want to work with the kids who are failing math because I had been one of those kids. So she started working with 8 children whose grades ranged from D to F. These kids look at a whiteboard full of chicken scratch numbers and they're scared, she says. Working with our graduate school faculty, Nicole has started finding ways to change that situation. In Nicole's class, chicken scratch on the board gives way to tactile models, things that the children can hold and they can manipulate. Math becomes tangible, real, and fun, and the kids' confidence is soaring along with their grades. And Nicole is not the only one who's giving. She receives that same measure of attention from her professor here at Lewis and Clark, who we heard from earlier, Cassie Allen. Even when Cassie, where is she? She's here somewhere. Right there. Even when Cassie was on sabbatical, she made herself available. Nicole says, Cassie is here not just to get us through the program, but to make us incredible teachers. She gets so excited watching us grow and succeed. Making it talk involves working to perfect your craft and then working even more. Some of you are probably familiar with our law school's success in moot court competitions nationally and internationally. How our 2010 environmental law moot court team, for example, took the national prize for the 3rd time in a row. In winning that championship, our students triumphed over teams from 83 other law schools. What does winning at that level really entail? To be sure, in many ways, moot court represents the quintessential practical skills endeavor. Says Lizzie Zultowski, who is a member of that winning team, moot court is about improving oral advocacy skills and more. It's about learning to analyze issues, conduct research, and craft arguments. It teaches you to think on your feet and to think out loud in a composed, knowledgeable, and professional way in front of judges. Or as Professor Craig Johnston, the advisor to the moot court team, has said, there's nothing quite like finding out that even after you've written a brief and done 20 or more practice rounds, you still need to keep learning and finding new ways to think about the issues. Not only do individual students and professors at our law school think in new ways, the school as a whole does. Our International Environmental Law Project is the only campus-based, faculty-led international environmental law clinic in the nation. And that project is but one dimension of a global law program that also includes business law, dispute resolution, comparative law, and a curriculum that's been codified through a new certificate in global law. Now, before I came to Lewis and Clark, I was familiar with the college's reputation as a leader in international programs. I knew that this year our undergraduate students represent not only 48 states, but as you've seen today, 62 countries. I was struck by the statistic that 2/3 of undergraduates pursue off-campus or overseas studies before they graduate, and even more remarkably, that 2/3 of Lewis and Clark's programs go to countries outside Western Europe. Most colleges and universities would be thrilled to achieve numbers half that high on either measure. And now that I've been here for a while, I know that those numbers, as impressive as they are, barely begin to tell the story. This institution lives the international experience every day. Whenever I can, I like to drop in on students during lunch or dinner. If I'm lucky, a student will invite me over to their table with their friends for a meal. When I'm not lucky, I just sit down anyway. More often than not, the topic of conversation that I stumble upon in these lunches and dinners is about some part of the world outside the United States and about these students' connection to it. They talk not just of the place itself, but of the people and the culture that give the place life. They share stories about their host family in Kenya or about the emails they're receiving from friends studying in China. Or they talk about research trips that they've taken or they're about to take. Right now, Peter Kennedy, an assistant professor in our biology department, is in Alder Forest outside Mexico City with a team of researchers that includes scientists from Mexico and France and undergraduates from Lewis and Clark. Supported by grants from the National Science Foundation and the Murdoch Charitable Trust, they're investigating an ecosystem just below the surface of the Earth. Their work, which is quite literally groundbreaking, has implications for improving tree health and managing forests around the world. One of the student researchers who has worked with Professor Kennedy, biology major Logan Higgins of the class of 2011, said this about her experience. When most people think of ecology, they think big, rainforests, elephant herds, coral reefs, that sort of thing. Working with Peter has shown me that biodiversity can be encountered absolutely anywhere you care to look. And working with him has given me a glimpse of what my own life and career might look like in another decade or so if I continue to work hard and ask good questions. Our alumni and trustees tell me similar stories, expressing profound appreciation for how their time abroad and close connections with Lewis and Clark faculty imbued in them a lifelong passion for working hard and asking good questions regardless of their profession. This is a song that Lewis and Clark has been perfecting for half a century. In 1961, Jack Howard, then in his second year as president, announced his goal of sending faculty-led groups of students overseas to learn about international issues and gain firsthand knowledge of other cultures. The following academic year, 135 students traveled to 6 destinations, and our overseas studies program set sail. Today, we complete a trifecta that is rare for any college or university. We send students in large numbers overseas for intensive study. We receive students from many other countries for study here. And our students continue their international engagement after graduation. To take just one of many indicators of that last point, we're a top provider of Peace Corps volunteers. In fact, in the most recent ranking, we tied 3rd among colleges and universities with fewer than 5,000 undergraduates.